For the past 3 years, I have had the opportunity to learn about solar panels and solar power systems as a member of the solar photovoltaic group of the Collaboratory. And one of the things I've learned in this time is that solar power is becoming more and more relevant to the modern world. There's even one Navy proposal to create a giant satellite of solar panels in orbit around the Earth that collects solar energy from space and beams it down to the Earth as a focused beam of radio waves. Now, here is an example of how solar panels are becoming a more prominent feature of modern culture, and I feel like it's important for us to have at least a basic understanding of how these systems work and some of the benefits of them so that we can understand why people might be interested in implementing these systems more and more over time. Now, I'm going to start by briefly walking through the solar demonstration cart I have here. I will tell you about each of the major components, basically what they do, and then we'll move on from there to the basic types of solar systems that these components are pieces of. Now, first off, on the back of the solar cart here, we have the solar panel. This is the component that absorbs the sunlight and turns it into electricity, which then feeds into this charge controller, which controls the charging of this battery. Now, the reason you would have a battery attached to a solar system is so that if it becomes cloudy or rainy and your solar panel can't collect electricity for the moment, that way the things you're trying to power don't just shut off. So it's frequently called a battery backup because it primarily serves to back up the solar panels. And the solar panels will recharge the battery as it drains when the sun is available. Now, the charge controller serves to control the charging of the battery, as I have said, so that if the battery gets too low, you stop drawing power from it. Because if you draw too much power from a battery, it shortens the life of the battery, and that increases the maintenance costs of the systems. Also, if the battery gets too charged and wants to keep charging, the charge controller will stop charging the battery because overcharging the battery can also damage it. Now, from the charge controller, the electricity goes to the inverter, which is a component that converts AC to DC electricity and vice versa. Now, the solar panel and the battery both use DC power, but most household appliances and things that you would want to power with this electricity run on AC power. So the purpose of this inverter is to switch between the two so that you can run what you run and then charge the batteries and the solar panel can generate electricity. Now, these are the basic components of your typical solar system. It doesn't get much more complicated than that in most cases. There are two main types of solar systems. A grid-independent system, which is just this right here. This solar cart is a basic example of a grid-independent system. It's not connected to any sort of power grid. It's not plugged into the wall, so to speak, and it just runs by itself. It can power things without any sort of connection to a power grid. Now, the second major type of solar system is called a grid-tied or grid-dependent system, wherein it is plugged into the wall. It can take power from the grid, or if you're generating more power than you need, it can also give power back to the power grid. Now, most grid-tied systems don't have battery backups because if the sun isn't shining and you're not generating your own power, you can just draw from the grid so that everything doesn't shut down. There are several reasons why solar power is becoming more and more prominent, more and more common. But it is definitely becoming more common. As you can see here, there's almost an exponential increase in the number of solar installations over the past several years, and there seems to be very little indication that this trend is going to slow down. But the solar installations are gaining momentum for a number of reasons, one of which is because they provide clean, reliable, and independent power. There's no pollution, there's no greenhouse gas emission with the solar system. As you can see right here, it merely takes light, converts it directly into electricity, and it is then used by whatever you want to run. It is reliable and independent insofar as you don't need to be connected to a power grid, and it will continue to generate electricity as long as the sun is shining, and it doesn't seem that the sun plans to give up shining anytime soon. Now, another major benefit of installing a solar system is that they frequently pay for themselves upon installation. Now, this chart right here shows the cost savings of a token solar system installed in a residential context. Initially, it takes about $10,000 to install, but then you can see only about 10 years after installation, it has paid for itself. By the end of its useful life, about 30 years in the future, this household has saved $30,000 in terms of energy costs if they were just connected to the grid for this time. Now, these are the main reasons why solar panels and solar power systems are becoming more and more common, and it's really important for us to understand these reasons so that if we might be interested either ourselves in installing residential solar power systems to save our families money, or maybe even suggesting them to our employers for a commercial setting, then we will have the knowledge necessary to make a convincing case and make a good decision, and then go forward to impact the world environmentally, impact ourselves financially, and just be able to make a good decision with that. Thank you.